I am a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, and I enjoy taking on different challenges for the series, like randomizers. I wanted to try something new, and as I was sitting down watching YouTube, a thought crept into my head. What about a Nuzlocke? Nuzlocks have become a staple in the Pokemon community, admittedly to the point of oversaturation, but I thought it'd be a fun idea to apply the rules of a Nuzlocke to Kingdom Hearts, specifically Dream Drop Distance. This game has a similar style of obtaining cute and cuddly creatures to throw into the flames of combat, but instead of Pokemon, they're called Dream Eaters, which are the souls of dead children. Yeah, you should have played the mobile games. So I searched up Kingdom Hearts Nuzlocke to look at the rules and found nothing. There were a couple of posts about the concept of a Kingdom Hearts Nuzlocke, but they were all for Kingdom Hearts 2. They didn't even mention the game with Pokemon in them. There was one post that talked about Dream Drop that suggested some rules, but the thread never went past the conceptualization stage. There's really only 3 core rules in a Nuzlocke. How has no one done this yet? And then a thought crept into my head. This looks like a good spot to find some clout. Fear not, King Urza 123 and Avitray? I'm going with Avitray. I am going to make the impossible possible. Thus, I present to you the first Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance Nuzlocke. Or the Dream Drop Lock for short. Or the Dax Lock because I want the credit. First things first, I need to set a goal. Create a set of rules for Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance that mimic the rules of a Pokemon Nuzlocke as accurately as possible while feeling like an experience unique to this game. I also want it to be fun and easily playable, so anyone, regardless of skill level or familiarity with the series, can try it for themselves. Anyone who is familiar with a Nuzlocke knows the rules. Any Pokemon that faints is considered dead and must be released, and the player may only catch the first wild Pokemon encountered in each area and nothing else. If that Pokemon encountered faints or flees, there are no second chances. These are going to serve as the blueprints for my rules. You can just copy and paste those rules? Cause this is just a watered down version of Pokemon. Shut the f up, Kevin. I thought the same thing at first, but it's way more complicated than you might think. Let's go over the first catching rule. In a traditional Nuzlocke, you can randomly encounter a single Pokemon per route and catch it to add it to your team. That's not the case in Dream Drop. Each area has a predetermined set of Dream Eaters that spawn in waves, eliminating the randomness factor. Plus, you can't catch them. Instead, you need to obtain the recipe and the materials listed on said recipe to create the Dream Eater you want to add to your party. I could say that the first recipe you come across is the one you make, but the recipes are in chests that are scattered around the map and in the item shop, so you can easily pick which recipe you want and go to that one first. Additionally, some recipes are behind story events which would lock you out of those recipes until you complete that event. In the post I found, it was suggested that you create one of the Dream Eaters out of the first wave you encounter, but when you enter a world for the first time, you're usually forced into a scripted fight, which again would lock you out of creating certain Dream Eaters, and there's only 54 types of Dream Eaters in the entire game. Limiting access to certain Dream Eaters would be a linear and stale experience for the player, aka not fun. So instead, I'm going to keep it simple and clean. When you enter a world for the first time, you can create a Dream Eater anytime before moving on to the next world. Essentially, 1 Dream Eater per world per character. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. In this game, he plays 2 characters, Sora and Riku. Their stories run parallel to each other as they visit the same worlds, albeit some slight differences. Since they're each on their own journeys, it only made sense to treat them like separate individuals with their own unique party of Dream Eaters. This also allows you to create more Dream Eaters since there's only 7 worlds in the game, and that would mean you only create 7 spirits, and that's too constricting. Now you get to double that number and enjoy a more fluid experience. You're also required to return to Traverse Town halfway through the story, and since there's a required boss rush there, I believe it's okay to count it as a separate world and let the player create some spirits on their second visit as well. You are able to use materials to randomly create Dream Eaters, but you still need specific materials for each set of Dream Eaters, and quite frankly, that's not new player friendly, so for now, I'm gonna say there's no way to make this truly random. Side note, if you're in the modding community and know how to mod Dream Drop, hit me up on Twitter, I have some ideas. Additionally, you are forced to create 2 spirits as part of the tutorial when you first enter Traverse Town, and frankly, I don't think they should be counted toward the world's encounters. Imagine if the catching tutorial in Pokemon counted towards your first encounter in a Nuzlocke. That's not very fun or fair. So I'm counting these as freebies and allowing the player to create 2 more spirits when they find more recipes in that world. And that's the first rule taken care of. I told you it was more complicated than it seemed. The next rule is easily applicable, but what makes it interesting is that there's 2 phases involved for your Dream Eaters to be knocked out. When a Dream Eater's HP reaches 0, it is knocked out. However, a rescue timer starts, and if you don't rescue it in time, it literally shatters and you're left to pick up the pieces. That's right, these guys can actually die. So it stands to reason that as long as you can save the Dream Eater before the rescue timer runs out, it's fine, you get to keep it. There is another factor here that coincides with the last traditional Nuzlocke rule. In Pokemon, when all of your party members faint, you black out. In Dream Drop, when your Dream Eaters die, nothing really happens. You only black out when Sora or Riku's HP reaches 0, regardless of how much health your Dream Eaters have. So how is this going to work? Well, it's simple. So long as the Dream Eaters don't die, it's fine. You can black out as many times as you want. Is what a little bitch would say! In my testing, I only encountered the rescue timer once, so there wasn't a sense of danger going into fights. Here's where we get into thematics. Dream Eaters are like protective guardians that Sora and Riku can bond with to unlock abilities, attacks, and magic. Additionally, Sora can link with his Dream Eaters to unleash some cool special attacks, and Riku can absorb his Dream Eaters for a limited time to perform special fighting styles and combos. This makes Dream Eaters feel like an extension of Sora and Riku rather than just another party member. So naturally, it would only make sense that if Sora or Riku die, their spirits die with them. That's right, Haley Joel Osment and David Gallagher. It's your fault they died. You're responsible for erasing the souls of children from existence. Having 2 ways for your Dream Eaters to die fixes the lack of threat from the challenge. It also creates a sense of responsibility for the player because no matter how your colorful companions die, it's your fault for not being strong enough to save them. However, since this game focuses on real-time combat instead of turn-based combat, combined with the fact that the player can die unlike the Pokemon games, it'd be criminally unfair to say that one player death means you have to completely start over. So to balance it out, I'm adding the rule that only your Dream Eaters that are active in battle are considered dead when a player death occurs. Now, to my fellow Kingdom Hearts veterans watching this video, I know what you're thinking. What about the drop gauge? For those who don't know, there's a mechanic called the drop gauge, and when it's fully depleted, you're automatically switched over to the other character. This mechanic is very controversial in the Kingdom Hearts community, because you can drop mid-boss fight, and when you drop back to that character, you restart the whole fight over again. Honestly, it's not that bad. There's ways to refill or slow the drop gauge, and so long as you do so before entering a boss room, you're not going to drop mid-fight. So how do we implement this into the challenge? Simple. I'm not going to.
But wouldn't it be more challenging if you lost your Dream Eaters when you drop? Ow.
Shut the f up, Kevin. For starters, to switch between Sora and Riku, you have to drop, which can be done at a save point, in the overworld, or anytime you're not in combat. Second, when your drop gauge is depleted, your Dream Eaters don't faint, and it's not considered a game over or a death for the player. It's an inconvenience at most. Yes, losing your Dream Eaters when your drop gauge runs out would be more challenging, but it'd be significantly less fun, which goes against our goal. Not every challenge seeker is a masochist. And for anyone watching this video that's never played Kingdom Hearts before and is intimidated by this weird mechanic, there's a mod that completely removes it from the game without hindering the rest of the experience. And with that, we have our core rules in place. There are some other rules that I am implementing that are self-explanatory, so I'm not going to waste time explaining them. However, there are 2 rules that do need some explaining. The first rule involves our Dream Eaters party inclusion. Earlier I said that we are treating Sora and Riku as 2 separate entities with their own unique parties. However, the game only has one collective pool of Dream Eaters and allows you to put them both in Sora and Riku's parties. It doesn't matter which one created them. For the purposes of this challenge, I'm only allowing Sora to use Dream Eaters he creates and vice versa with Riku. I even adjusted the nicknames so I didn't forget who created what Dream Eater. The second rule involves something I haven't really talked about yet: the conditions for losing the challenge. Traditional Nuzlocke rules state that when all of the Pokemon in your party faint, you lose the challenge and have to start over, even if you have extra Pokemon in your PC that aren't dead. Not really a problem, right? Well, here's the thing. In Pokemon, you can have 6 members in your party, but in Dream Drop Distance, you can only have 2. This rule also doesn't consider player deaths or multiple parties, since those are not present in the Pokemon series. You could still implement this rule, but then the challenge changes from a Nuzlocke to a no-death challenge. I adjusted this rule earlier to fit how Dream Eaters can die, but I'm going to make the official statement that you lose the challenge when either Sora or Riku have lost all of their Dream Eaters. Meaning, if you die as Sora, you can continue playing until you have no other Dream Eaters in Sora's collection, and vice versa for Riku. If either Sora or Riku run out of Dream Eaters, you've lost the challenge, even if the other character still has Dream Eaters in their collection. And that does it for the rules. I know that was a lot of information, but I needed to clearly explain the reasoning behind each of these rules because, like I said, this is brand new territory. When Pokemon Nuzlocks were first conceptualized, there was probably a lot of thought put into them, and now there's whole websites dedicated to explaining and expanding upon the rules. And that's the other thing too, this has never gotten past the conceptualization stage. That is, until now. I did what no one before me had dared to do. I played the game. Can these rules work? Will this make for a fun challenge? Can I go beyond what my predecessors thought to be inconceivable? So I went to Twitch and began the first ever Dream Drop Distance Nuzlocke, also known as a tax lock. I started this challenge on Proud Mode because this playthrough is meant to be a proof of concept. And I didn't have Critical Mode unlocked on this install. Just a disclaimer, you can play on whatever difficulty you want. It's your playthrough, you should decide what difficulty will make the experience more fun for you. I quickly completed the tutorial, got to Traverse Town, and created the tutorial spirits. Little Rock the Meow Wow, and Aaron Meg the Komori Bat, who are named after my Twitch followers. Side note, there's an exploit in the creation menu where you can create spirits you don't have the materials for. Essentially, you can make almost anything for the price of a Meow Wow. I highly encourage using this method as often as you can since grinding for materials is tedious and you can just buy the materials from Meow Wow in the Moogle shop. I tried to look up the locations for more recipes, but I couldn't find a guide that had any concrete directions, so I went blindly looking. This is a good time to mention that each world has portals that randomly spawn across the map each time you drop. These portals usually contain special battles to get items or materials, but sometimes you'll come across friendship portals, which give you rental spirits for a limited time. These portals are strictly off limits for this challenge, since having temporary companions mitigates the threat of losing our party members. And while I was searching for recipes, holy we're not gonna count that one. We're not gonna count that one. Before you start typing your hate comments, in Pokemon Nuzlocke there's a universally understood rule that the challenge doesn't start until you get Pokeballs. This is to help get the challenge steamrolling, as it's really annoying to have to reset when you're only a couple of minutes into the challenge with only one Pokemon. So I'm gonna mimic this rule. The challenge doesn't begin until you have created a spirit with both Sora and Riku that are not the tutorial spirits. I ended up getting some recipes from the Moogle shop and created two spirits, Bryn the Prickle Mane for Sora, and Lapsy the Heavy Rep for Riku. Before I went to the boss fight, I did some level grinding and bonded with my spirits. Each Dream Eater has a link board where you can spend link points to unlock abilities, attacks, and magic for Sora and Riku. You can earn link points by using toys to play with your spirits, which you can find in the item shop. I also found the mightiest spell in the entire game, Balloon. After getting the prep work done, I challenged the first boss of the game, Hako Monkey. Sora's fight with Hako Monkey was pretty simple, but Riku's fight was a bit more challenging. As Sora, you fight in a very spacious arena, giving you time to run away and heal yourself before getting back into the fray. With Riku, you're stuck inside this building that has this awkward stairway smack dab in the middle of the room. Hako Monkey will also break apart into a bunch of hands that will attack you with the environment. You ever been smacked with a whole ass tree? I don't recommend it. It was rough, but with enough perseverance, I was able to secure the win.
Let's go. Let's go.
Next up, Le Site de Cloche. After a couple of scripted battles, I wasted no time making new Dream Eaters in the form of Ellie the Tamaship and Mouse the Tubgwin Ace, who I was really excited to have on the team, cause look at it! The team attack is just sitting Sora chilling out, maxing and relaxing all cool while shooting some b-ball outside of the school. After some story progression, I did some level grinding and bonding with my Dream Eaters. This is going to be a constant pattern throughout the world, so from here on out, I'm not going to reference this process again unless I unlock something important, like some stat boost that I gained before fighting Wargoyle as Riku. This fight was tough for two reasons. Number one, the flying mechanics. There's no way to descend without dropping into freefall, and when you ascend, you basically float into the ceiling. Number two, this thing hits like a f***ing freight train! Oh my god. Not only did I have to try and bait it to solid ground in hopes of actually hitting the damn thing, but I also had to dodge roll like crazy in hopes of finding an opening to heal. I cannot look at chat right now. I cannot look at chat right now. I've gotta hyper-focus this shit. The stress levels were high, but I somehow panicked my way through it. Oh my god, okay. Oh my god, that fucking scared the shit out of me. Now to do it again as Sora! Thankfully, in this version of the fight, Wargoyle is stuck to the ground, and once again, I have a wide open arena to work with. Unfortunately, his attacks come out way faster and have a wider range. Every time I healed, I would immediately lose all of the HP that I just got back. Do not go into this fight underleveled. It was a grueling battle, but eventually I found my footing and ballooned my way to victory. Let's go! During the dive into the next world, I might have done a f*** up. Well, we didn't have our f***ing Dream Eaters in the party, so it doesn't really count. Okay, this is where I'm gonna get some flack. So I thought it'd be rather ridiculous if I lost spirits that couldn't participate in the battle that I got knocked out in. Plus, if we look back at our rule sheet, it says that only my active Dream Eaters die when I do. It says losing spirits if Sora and Riku faint at any point during their adventure, their currently active spirit companions are swallowed by the nightmares, but they are not in the party right now. Is this bordering into technicalities? Yes, but I'm still adding this stipulation to the rule sheet, and before you begin writing your little Timmy hate comments, I did suffer some losses. I don't know what. Wake up! Did you see that sh**? They had snipers positioned at every angle! This room is a death trap! But alas, I lost my first 2 spirits. I don't know what hurts more. How relentless and brutal that death was. The fact that this is my first loss. The fact that I lost Tubquin. Ace, I really like that Dream Eater, okay? Or just how sad it was to say goodbye. No! I didn't know it did that. I didn't know that was the animation for it. This feels so much more cruel than releasing a Pokemon! I don't like that they cry and run away. We interrupt your morning for a special rules update. While making funeral arrangements for the companions he let die, Dax discovered that you are forced to have 3 spirits in your party at all times and cannot release a spirit that is in your party. To ensure that none of Riku's spirits will be added to Sora's party and to keep the integrity of the challenge intact, he created Sora's spirit for the world, JK, the cat Nuki, and created a Meow Wow to act as a proxy. A new rule was added to the challenge sheet. If either character does not have enough spirits to fill their party, you may create Meow Wows to act as proxy spirits to fill in the empty spaces. However, you may not unlock any nodes on their link board. This has been your special rules update. Feeling the crushing weight of grief on my shoulders, I needed to look for any shred of light in the darkness. I switched over to Riku to create his Dream Eater for the grid. I didn't have the necessary materials, so I began looking for a Moogle shop, and along the way... No! Actually, the grid! Once I reached the Moogle shop, I created a proxy spirit and Riku's Dream Eater for the grid, Sakura the Zolophant. I rearranged the party and said goodbye to more of my friends. I better not lose any more spirits because my heart can't take this. During the next stream, I found Balloonra in a chest, which is an insane upgrade for me because unlike its base form, these balloons will hunt down your enemies. It's all coming together. Which came in handy for Riku's boss fight. Okay. Ooh boy. Despite breezing through that boss, I was still on edge while playing through Sora's portion. Which is why we did the KH2 rando, and then the... Don't you do that. Don't you fucking do that to me. Anxiety is at an all-time high. But none of that tension went away going into my fight with Rinsler. I have a few notes about this fight. 1, Rinsler. I know this is Tron and everything, but he's totally hacking! Mans does a bunch of flips and parkour shit while hurling a frisbee with the physics of Captain America's shield, and he knows how to use it! He'd bonk me on the forehead, run away, throw his auto-tracking discus that would hit me right after I healed, and then close the gap to execute more combos. Not only that, but he would invert the gravity of the arena, which would invert my controls, and when he reverted it back, he would do a superhero landing right on top of me! Let me tell ya, I would not have survived this fight if it weren't for Balloonra. Thank you, balloons. I'll never pop you again. After narrowly escaping death and preparing for the next world, I took some time to reflect on my experience, and I came to a realization. The grid. Thankfully, Prankster's Paradise was more forgiving. After adding Star the Wowflower and Yuki the R&R Seal to my team, I didn't have much of a hard time here. I unlocked Balloonga, which made things super easy. I spent more time just enjoying the world. In Sora's version, you're dropped into a carnival-like world that for some reason feels aesthetically pleasing? It could be how cartoony everything is, or how the world is painted in bright and saturated colors, or maybe it's just a me thing, I don't know. Regardless, it was just the reprieve I needed before heading into the next set of bosses. Starting with Clobster. There's not that much to say here. It mostly tried to hit me long range, but yet again, I have another spacious room to work with. I just tried to stay on top of it while hitting it with some balloons, and that worked just fine for me. On the other hand, Clobster was slightly more difficult. You don't have a lot of horizontal space since you're trapped in a racetrack-esque arena that it perfectly fits into. It can also fly above you to land on the other side of you, so you can't just run around the track and sneak up behind it. The worst thing about this boss is how unbearably slow it is. Its attacks typically cover the width of the arena, and it slowly advances towards you while spinning its claws, effectively making it impossible to pull off most close-range attacks. This is a weird instance where I much prefer Balloonra to Balloonga, since Balloonra immediately creates the auto-tracking balloons, unlike Balloonga. Now the good thing about this fight is that when the boss's health gets low enough, you can link with Monstro and do a super easy on-the-rail style chase, which took me no time at all to complete. Before moving on to the next set of worlds, I had to backtrack because there was some tomfoolery in Traverse Town. So I traveled back to test this troublemaking troglodyte, but the tables tragically turned as I was treated to a team-up of my antecedent terrorizers and I became tumultuously terrified.
No.
Also, meet Vor and Dixon. Riku's second visit to Traverse Town was a cakewalk, because he just had to fight a couple of waves of enemies. But Sora's visit had me fighting all of the Dream Eater bosses I had fought previously in one boss rush! And to top it off, this arena is tiny! All that room I had previously to avoid attacks and find a safe spot to heal? Yeah, I don't have that anymore! There are some barrels that you can link to as an oh sh button and deal a bit of damage, but it's still a brutal fight. This is stressy. Dax is stressed. There's also these poles that you can swing around on, which I believe to be the only reason why I survived this onslaught of bosses. After surviving that deadly detour, I made it to the Country of Musketeers, where I added Artis the KO Kabuto and Psyonix the Mimi Bunny to my entourage of brave soldiers. Once again, there's not much to talk about here, other than how this world kinda doesn't make sense in the canon, but whatever. Although the enemies here are significantly tougher. In particular, this room of Zolifants, where, unfortunately... Why are you on, like... I lost some good soldiers. So I decided to take my anger out on this mole thing, and peaked. And now onto the best world in the game, Symphony of Sorcery. I'm gonna gush a moment. This world is based off the Fantasia movie, and like the name suggests, it's heavily music-based. The classic orchestral pieces and the vibrant colors in this world just hit different, but again, maybe that's just me. I like colors, okay? I added Gregory the Cab Cannon to my ensemble, as well as one of the coolest spirits in the entire game, Pikachu. Let me tell you why this Dream Eater is awesome. Number 1, it's a motherfucking T-Rex. 2, its ability board has Firaga Burst and once more, which are awesome things to unlock for my arsenal. 3, its group link attack summons a meteor that Sora rides on to crash into his enemies. This Dream Eater is basically a necessity given that Sora's toolkit has been pretty lacking up until now. Damn it! This is bad. We have spirits for Riku for days. We only have these two for Sora. I don't know how we're gonna get past this world.
I'm in a critical situation.
If Sora dies one more time, we have to restart this entire thing.
Sora is down to his last 2 spirits. What's worse is that I've already gotten everything I wanted from their link boards, meaning there's nothing for me to unlock that can make Sora stronger, and right now, he's weak. There isn't anything I can do aside from level grind to hell and back in preparation for the boss fight. And that boss is notoriously difficult. But it's hard to level grind because Sora is so weak. Everything's looking bleak. What can I do? And then I remembered.
We play as Riku, get some drop bonuses, give them to Sora, and that might fix some things.
When you drop between Sora and Riku, you're presented with the relay bonus screen, where you can purchase temporary stat buffs for the character you're about to drop to. You purchase these buffs with drop points, which are collected from defeating enemies. If I can progress Riku's story and defeat a bunch of enemies before dropping back to Sora, I can increase Sora's damage output so I'll actually stand a chance against the boss. There's a glimmer of light rising above the horizon, revealing a road to dawn. King Urza 123, Avatray, lend me your strength. I switched over to Riku and trekked forward with hope and courage in my heart. I fought through the frigid cold, ended the night on Bald Mountain, and struggled through my one-man war against wave after wave of nightmares until it was finally time to pass the baton to Sora. I went back to the country of musketeers to heighten the abilities of my swordplay, and returned with an optimized arsenal of attacks to dash through the Valley of Death. The end is in sight. My heart feels electrified. My determination is strong as stone. No enemy will make me fall. The absolute pit in my stomach weighs heavy. I was defeated not by a nightmare, but by a rock. Who was I kidding? I was way in over my head. This challenge is...
Can't stay away now, can you?
Am I... dead? Huh?
The edges of sleep and death touch, and one can't help the occasional crossover.
So I'm not dead?
You're hanging by a thread.
Okay. What now?
There's nothing else beyond this.
I think you're wrong. I'm completing this challenge.
What? How exactly?
Simple. I refuse to give up.
Seriously?
What? Are you gonna try?
No. That's okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Say, do you think I can do it?
I'm not sure, but give it a shot.
Well, you weren't very helpful.
Then isn't it time that you left?
Oh, fuck you.
Don't push it.
Last stream, I failed the challenge. We've gained knowledge, we've gained wisdom, we've gained experience. So this time, this playthrough, this attempt, we will not fail. We are going to complete this challenge and prove to the world that it's possible.
Armed with the experience I had from my failure, and knowledge from speedrunners that I totally didn't look up, I was ready to redeem myself and conquer this challenge.
Let's f***ing do this.
Traverse Town was a breeze, but I made sure to make a specific spirit, Perry, the Yogi Ram, so I could have early access to Fyraga. I did the same in Lasitte Klosh by making Beware the R&R seal, so I could have early access to Balunga. I did lose some spirits in my fight with Gargoyle, but I came out victorious in the second attempt. The grid was still a monstrous hellhole of anxiety, but thankfully there were no casualties. Monstro and Prankster's Paradise were nothing to write home about, and those feeble, foolish foes of the past fatally fell to my furious flames. The country of musketeers claimed 2 more companions, but in their names, I pressed on. I successfully returned to Symphony of Sorcery, where I befriended 2 more spirits and avoided the electric rock of death, and once again quelled the night at Bald Mountain. It's time to fight Spelican. This boss is tricky. It starts with a chase sequence where it hurls rocks at you, and you gotta be careful because...
Do I go into the fight at low HP? Oh my god.
I've never been so afraid of a bird before. I decided to end the stream to collect my thoughts and formulate a strategy, and during the next stream, I came back with higher levels and a reorganized command deck that helped me shoot down this feathery demon. Now it's time for the final stretch of the challenge. The world that never was. In this world, I have to defeat not 1, not 2, but 5 bosses, back to back. I created my last 2 spirits, did my final preparations, and proceeded to the first of the remaining obstacles on my path to redemption, Xemnas. This fight can be devastating if you're not careful. You gotta block the lightsabers, jump over the lasers, and do not trigger the reality shift during his desperation move. Weirdly enough, Xemnas gained some invincibility frames after completing the reality shift. You don't take much damage from the desperation move, and you actually have enough time to heal and get some damage in. It took some strategy and precision, but this nobody felt the pain of defeat. A feeling I know all too well. And that concludes Sora's role in this challenge. Now it's up to Riku to vanquish the last of the nightmares. The anti-black coat nightmare shrouds the field in darkness and can decimate your health with a variety of attacks, one of which will sap your health to 1 HP. Luckily, this nightmare isn't used to fighting foes in the air, so I flew like a bird and made the nightmare fly away. But in swooped Ansem to do what the nightmare failed to accomplish. And it looks like he specifically wants aerial combat. His attacks in the air are really annoying, and he was really into this whole bird fantasy thing, so I brought him back down to reality and crushed his dreams of ever flying again. So instead he became a ball sack? What happened to turning into a boat, my dude? He didn't take too kindly to the fact that I clipped his wings, and he decided to take it out on my bat. Jealousy is so not your color. But black apparently is, because he painted the frickin' hallway like a spirit Halloween. This is probably the most tense fight in the run so far. It was a constant back and forth of trying to keep myself and my spirits alive. It was a test of endurance, but I inevitably passed.
Let's go! Let's go, okay. Whew.
It was now time for a master to step in, and Xehanort spared no time bludgeoning me with attacks. He slowed me down, used his Keyblade as a whip to create a flurry of blows, and pelted me with lasers. But I wasn't fazed. I picked up the pace. I was slowing him down. And frankly, it was almost too easy. You know, for being a master, I expected more. Xehanort, you really wasted my time. It was now time for a master to step in, and Xehanort spared no time, dying like a bitch! Nice try, Xehanort, but I'm no fool to your wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey shenanigans. And that was it. The organization's defeated. Except, there's one last nightmare to wake from.
This is it right here. Everything we've worked toward has led to this moment. Can we prove that Kingdom Hearts can in fact be a Nuzlocke? I say yes.
Darkness and light interchangeably ripple and fade. Orbs of chaotic energy erratically dance around me. Tendrils of shadow erupt from the ground. Its bombardment of attacks seep out into my mind with every strike. Thoughts of failure are swimming inside of my mind, but there's people out there who are counting on me. It's time to end this nightmare and realize this dream.
Let's fucking go! Let's go! Let's go!
The wave of accomplishment that washed over me was incredible. Tackling a challenge that very few have thought of, but none ever attempted, was a daunting task. There were times where I doubted that such a challenge could ever work, or that I was the one to make it work. But in the end, I'm proud to say that I did the impossible, and it was all thanks to everyone who helped me along the way.
Before you go, so now that I've made the rule set and I've proven the concept, what now? Well, I challenge you to take on the Nuzlocke. The initial idea for this was I just wanted to have a fun challenge to do in Kingdom Hearts, but as I was making the rules, I thought about it and I really want the community to have this and evolve it like they did with the Pokemon Nuzlocke. If you want to add or remove some rules, you want to turn into a hardcore Nuzlocke, a Soul Link Nuzlocke where you just pass the controller every time you drop between Sora and Riku, I think that'd be really cool. If you want to play with my rules, which I do have linked in the description, or you want to make your own rules for it with the same basic concept, let me know on any of these social media platforms. I'm curious to see what you guys come up with. If you enjoyed watching me play, I suggest going over on Twitch and follow me over there. That's where all the fun stuff happens. Like the voice actor for Xemnas confirming that Xemnas does in fact use multi-purpose shampoo. And if you enjoyed this video, you should consider liking it so I know that I'm doing something right. And consider subscribing to the channel so you can join the greatest community this side of the Realm of Light. And if you enjoyed more challenge stuff, you should totally check out this video where I take on the Kingdom Hearts 2 Randomizer Tournament. That's right, I said tournament. I've been Dax. Have a wonderful day.